Hare Krishna, welcome to the disappearance anniversary of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. His father, Srila Vinod Thakur, has written this famous quote about the departure of the Vaishnavas from this mortal world. And I quote, he says, "He reasons ill who tells that Vaishnavas die when thou art living still in sound. The Vaishnavas die to live, and in living try to spread the holy name around." So in keeping with our Vaishnav tradition, on the disappearance day of great personalities, we chant a special song, and I'd like for you to follow. So we'll sing this song to honor the disappearance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati. Shall
Sangana paya kande naratamada Sangana paya kande naratamada Jayamula premadana Karuna pracho Hema Prabhu Kota Gela Charyatako Jaya Vaishnava 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 Jaya Vaishnava Jaya Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jai Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur ki Jai.
Hari Hari Bol. So we'd like to go read the translation of the song. He who brought the treasure of divine love and who was filled with compassion and mercy, where has such a personality as Srinivasacharya gone? Where are my Swarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatan? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where is my Raghunath butter and Gopal butter? And where is Krishnadas Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against the rock and enter into fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all of these devotees in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottam simply weeps. Jai Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur ki jai. So let's do the Mangalacharan responsively. Om Jnana Timarannasya Jnananyana Shalakaya Chakshurunmalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayan Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sahagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanabhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So let's repeat the pranam mantras for this great personality whose disappearance festival is today, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Iti Namine Shri Varshavanabi Devi Daitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vignana Daine Prabhave Namaha Madhurya Jivala Prem Hadya Shri Rupa Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Virudapa Siddhanta Dvanda Haritarine Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So we begin today's discourse by speaking a little bit about the appearance, the childhood, and the youth of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. He is the son of that illustrious Acharya, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who prayed. In his preaching endeavors, he was actually going through some challenges, and he understood that he needed a befitting successor for this glorious mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and thereby he prayed for a ray of Vishnu. And thus Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur was born as the fourth son of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So, when was he? He was born on the 5th day of the dark lunar fortnight in the month of Govinda, corresponding to February 6th, 1874 AD by the Western calendar at 3:30 in the afternoon. Bino Prasad, later to be known as Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur, made his appearance. He took birth in Purushottam Kshetra, Jagannath Puri, in the state of Orissa, not far from the Jagannath temple. His parents, he was the fourth son of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Sri Yukta Bhagavati Devi. Astrological predictions. Upon his birth, an astrologer was called, and he said that I've done many horoscopes in life, but I've never before seen such a horoscope filled with all signs of a great personality. This child will become world famous as a brilliant teacher of life's ultimate goal. Actually, when on his deathbed, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj's great-grandfather also predicted that in the house of Thakur Bhaktivinoda there will appear a Mahapurush who will spread the glories of Lord Hari all over the world. And there are also other scriptural references that make mention that a great personality will appear in Jagannath Puri and will spread the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur was born with some very unique features. He was born with the umbilical cord wrapped around his neck like a Brahmin thread, but he was also born with many auspicious markings of a Mahapurush on his body. At the time of his birth, 32 bodily symptoms of a Mahapurush, a great personality, were pointed out by an experienced astrologer. So this personality is no ordinary person, and today we avail of the opportunity offered by this anniversary celebration of the departure of Shri Nitya Leela Pravista Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Astotarasara Shri Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada to reflect on the right method of obtaining those benefits that have been accessible to humanity by the grace of this incredible, illustrious, great devotee of Krishna. So Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, the father of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, has written in a song called Sudha Bhakata Charana Renu the words Madhavatiti Bhakti Janani Jetana Palana Kori, which means that on all holy days in the Vaishnav calendar are actually mothers of devotion for those devotees who respect them. So mothers of devotion, why? Because the observance of these days give birth to devotion in the hearts of the various practitioners or followers who observe them. So there's a very famous familiar expression, one could say, in English, that is by Sir Isaac Newton, who has famously said these words, that if I have seen further, it is simply by standing on the shoulders of giants, unquote. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur is one such giant upon whose teachings we are lifted as seers, who only because him and the succeeding acharyas and the acharyas prior to him, via their teachings, have opened our eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. So he is the spiritual master of Nitya Leela Pravista Om, Shri Srimad Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and our preeminent Shiksha Guru, and the grand spiritual father for some devotees, great grand spiritual father for others, and this brings me to brings to memory a story that His Grace Dinabandhu Prabhu mentioned. He said that one time a devotee called Kartikeya, a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, told him a story of how when he was cooking for Srila Prabhupada, when Kartikeya was cooking for Srila Prabhupada, one day Prabhupada's very dear disciple Govinda Dasi came with some very special wheat germ that she managed to secure in the marketplace. And Kartikeya, as Prabhupada's cook, was thinking, next time Prabhupada asks for halava, I'll make it with wheat germ instead of semolina. So the next time when it rained, Prabhupada, who was very fond of eating halava to keep himself warm on a cold day, asked Kartikeya to make halava. And Kartikeya thought Prabhupada would be so pleased when I make this halava from wheat germ. He's going to like it so much. And he made the halava with the wheat germ, he offered it to the deities, and then he brought it to Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada looked at the bowl and he said, what is this? Halava means farina, or what we know as semolina. And then Prabhupada, he made a hand motion rejecting this halava without even touching it. He made the motion with his left hand, indicating, take it away. So Kartikeya was very sensitive, and he knew that for someone to reject something with the right hand is bad enough, but with the left hand, it is like a Maha rejection, so to speak. So he was so devastated that he had displeased Srila Prabhupada by this, and he went into the temple room, and there was this picture of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta that was painted by Jadurani Mataji perhaps, and he began to cry in front of this picture so profusely, and he was saying to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, I was trying to please your spiritual son, and now he's upset with me, I don't know what to do. And suddenly he heard Srila Prabhupada's voice booming, Kartikeya, Kartikeya, and he ran into Prabhupada's room, paid his obeisance. Before he could pay his obeisances, Prabhupada said, bring that halava. Kartikeya brought in the bowl of the halava, and Prabhupada ate it. And then Prabhupada said, bring more. In this way, Prabhupada finished off the whole pot of halava. And then Prabhupada said, the grandfather is more merciful than the father. So that is such a story of hope for us as grand disciples, that these personalities, we still have a very, very close bond with them, that our link with them is ever fresh, that their mercy is we can become recipients of their mercy in heaps and bounds, because they love the descendants of their descendants of their descendants of their descendants a lot more. So to continue with his early life, when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj was 6 months old, Lord Jagannath's Rath cart was in procession, and the cart stopped in front of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house. It was immovable, staying in that spot for 3 days. And at that time, following the instructions of her illustrious husband Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhagavati Devi, the mother of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, brought this child, 6-month child, before the cart and offered the child to the feet of Lord Jagannath, whereby at that particular moment an offered garland from the neck of Lord Jagannath fell encircling this baby. This was taken as a sign of special favor by all present, one can well imagine. And then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur advised his wife that to please let's do the grain ceremony for Bhimo Prasad now. And the grain ceremony was observed on the cart of Jagannath with Jagannath Prasad. And when the boy's vocation, when his future inclinations was tested by the common practice of placing some money and the Srimad Bhagavatam, he chose the Srimad Bhagavatam, indicating his future as a preacher. Therefore, from his very beginning of his appearance, one can safely say that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur, he just exhibited the signs of an exalted, eternal associate of the Lord, who had descended simply as an answer to Bhaktivinoda Thakur's prayer for a ray of Vishnu to help him spread the Krishna consciousness movement. And he stayed in Jagannath Puri for the first 10 months of his life, and then he journeyed to Bengal. He grew up in the early day years in Ramgata in Nadia, hearing about Krishna from his mother. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a very busy person, we know, writing so many books, so many songs for the benefit of all humanity for all time to come. And it was at that particular time that Bhagavati Devi Dasi took upon the service of educating her son, telling him various songs and pastimes of Krishna. So it was an incredible childhood. When he was a small boy, one day, Bhimo Prasad, he took one mango. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he went to the marketplace and returned with some ripe mangoes. And Bhimo Prasad, he took one of these mangoes saying, "This is mine." Bhaktivinoda Thakur got up and said in a grave voice, "What is this? New fruit has come to the house. It has not been offered to Giridhari, and you've taken it first? Remember, new fruit is to be given first to the Lord, and without giving it first, the first share to the Lord, nothing is to be taken." Upon hearing these words from his father, whom he regarded right from that age as his role model, this child repented and exclaimed, "Oh, what have I done? What evil thoughts! I shall not eat mango again for the rest of my life. And true to his word, he remained so fixed in this vrat that throughout his life, Srila Prabhupada also comments on this incident, saying that whenever we offered him mangoes, ripe mangoes, he said, no, I'm an offender. I cannot eat mangoes. And he was thinking he's offended Krishna in his childhood by taking a mango of the deity. So this is one characteristic of an acharya. They teach by their life's action how one should be so determined in following these principles that are taught by our great acharyas. He could have said, I was a child, I took a mango, there's no offense. But no, he took a vow and he obeyed this vow throughout his life. Then, one time when he was like about 5 or 6 years old, he was going with his father and somewhere in Jagannath Puri, and one sadhu called Swarup Das Babaji, he said to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a high court judge. He was serving the British government in such an esteemed position. So he was walking, and this Babaji said to him, you have no neck beads, no tilak, and you are not a Vaishnav. You don't even have Vaishnav dress. And this little boy, 5 or 6 years old, when he heard that, he replied, my father is a Janna Vaishnava, Janna Gata Vaishnava. He's born a Vaishnava even without any outward signs. And upon hearing this Babaji, he was like so impressed with this young boy who at such a tender age had explained such a high philosophical point. So Bhima Prasad, even when he was 7 years old, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was constructing a house, a Bhakti Bhavan in Calcutta at Ram Bagana, and during that construction, a deity of Kurma was unearthed, and while they were digging the foundation. So this is the form of Lord Krishna as a tortoise that appeared during the churning of the milk ocean. And when Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur found the Shila, he immediately gave it to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur, and he ordered his son to begin regulated worship of that deity at 7 years old. Most of us were probably beginning our school days at 7. So he continued this worship for a long time thereafter in obedience to the Thakur's words. So from the very beginning, he used to hear the preaching of his father with such rapt attention that his father as well as the audience were so amazed to see how a little boy could sit and hear the topics of Krishna with such total absorption. By the age of 7, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur was so incredible that he committed the entire 700 shlokas from the Bhagavad Gita to memory. He knew the Bhagavad Gita by heart, in other words. And not only knowing the verses, he could also explain these verses, which he did quite frequently to whomever he met at this young age of 7. Then, at 11 years old, he went with his father to pilgrimage, and he at that time was like a sponge, absorbing whatever he heard while listening to the various sadhus, while listening to his father preach on this trip. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur trained him up from around that age in the printing press in connection with the production of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's journal, Sahajana Toshini. So at the age of 11, where he was known as, as a walking encyclopedia, right from a very early age, because he could speak with such erudite scholarship. He had what's called an eidetic memory, or a photo-eidetic memory, or a photographic memory, because he was able to recall whatever he heard with great accuracy. It's explained that he would read once and would recall everything with perfect clarity. He was trained in mathematics and astrology at the Sri Ramapura school, and he achieved such an astounding scholarship. He was eventually even awarded the title Siddhanta Sarasvati by his tutors. His tutors being Mahesh Chandra Charomani and Pandit Sundarlal. So at the tender age, he used to attend the Sunday weekly meetings of Thakur Bhaktivinoda, which his father called Vishwa Vaishnav Rajya Sabha. So this was like a Namhata, or a gathering of Vaishnavas, of elders. And this young boy would go and he would hear the Thakur's lecture on Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu of Srila Rupa Goswami. He was never known to study his school assignments. While sitting at home, he would replace his school assignments with studies of Narottam Das Thakur's Pratana, Prema Bhakti Chandrika, and other devotional literatures. However, whatever questions he was asked by his teachers, he would immediately answer, and he got excellent results on all of his school tests, examinations, etc. So he had this incredible ability, because his intelligence was so sharp by the dint of his devotion, one could say. He used to debate with almost anyone he met on all sorts of subject matters. No one who argued with him was ever able to defeat him. Just as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would defeat Keshava Kashmiri even though he was at a young age, similarly, Saraswati Thakur, during his later college days, he debated with scholar after scholar. In fact, he debated with one scholar so badly that the man could not check his call of nature. He also debated with a very famous professor on various topics of astrological calculation. The debate was held in the home of Rajendra Chandra Shastri and judged by him as well. And after some discussion, that scholar had to accept defeat, because this young boy, he was so learned that years of this professor's education could not come up with suitable defeat to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. In fact, the scholar became so mortified, this particular scholar, like I said, he couldn't check the call of nature. And after that, everybody was actually scared of entering into debate with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. He was known as the Simha Guru, or the Lion Guru, because he was he spoke with such conviction. He was so educated, and his presentations were flawless, undefeatable, one could say. So when he was 11, we said he went on pilgrimage with his father, but also at 11, he did an incredible thing. He invented a sort of shorthand writing, or shorthand type, called Vikanta. And this was so incredible because his father really appreciated it, and it was used thereafter by so many great personalities. And this was invented just by him at 11. Can you imagine what he would have done if he had computers and coding, etc., with the brains as fresh and agile as his? when this boy was in 7th class, which which was maybe like at the age of 13, then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he went to Jagannath Puri, and when he came back to Bengal, he brought for his son Bhaktivinoda Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati, Bhimo Prasad, a set of tulasi beads from Jagannath Puri, and he gave him Harinam and the Nishinga mantra, and he instructed him to chant this daily. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he took this instruction so seriously, and thereafter, every day, from the age of 13, he never stopped this chanting of Harinam and the Nishinga mantra that his father had given him, but he only increased it. Then, at the age of 16, as you can see on the slide, he started an assembly known as the August Assembly. So this August Assembly, or Chira Kumara Sabha, as was also known in Bengal, he stipulated that whoever joined this sort of youth group, they had to take a vow of lifelong celibacy. So many people joined because they were attracted to him, but not many of them lasted. He was the only long-standing person who observed the vows immaculately. He became known as Naistika Brahmachari, one who never lost a drop of semen since his birth. And at the age of 18, he entered Calcutta Sanskrit College. And as before, during his school days, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta paid very scant attention in the classes while in college to the prescribed books, but he found time to read all of the philosophical books that the library in this Calcutta Sanskrit College had. So he would go to the library and read almost all of these books that he could find. So during his college holidays, he would discuss what he had learned. He would discuss the Vedas with different scholars, including Sri Yukta Pritivardhara Sharma. Although Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati was learned in, one could say, all 6 branches of Vedic knowledge, namely pronunciation or shiksha, kalpa, which is sequence of Vedic sacrifice, vyakarana or grammar, or especially the use of root words. He was learned in nirukta, which is the meanings of inflected words, and chanda, recitation of Vedic mantras, jyotish, astrological and astronomical calculations. Still, to study the vyakarana, the grammatical branch of the Vedas, he approached this Pritivardhana Sharma. So this Pandit, he was so impressed with Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati that he praised his achievements and he encouraged him to study this Siddhanta Kumodi throughout his life. And you know what Srila Saraswati Thakur replied when this professor encouraged him thus? He said these very profound words that comes from very deep philosophical understandings. He said, and I quote, my life is for single-minded cultivation of the teachings of Sri Chaitanya, not for the cultivation of grammar. I have only studied the Vedas and branches of the Vedas and their related parts in a secondary manner. And then, after his schooling, between the ages of 23 and 33, he entered into royal service. So, he said, so what happened was that in 1895, he left college. As we just heard, he was not interested in pursuing materialistic education, as he was eager to execute the worship of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of Lord Nityananda, and to remain free of pressure from family life, he states in his autobiography, because he dropped out of college. He said, if I remain, and it's I quote on the screen here, if I remain studying with careful attention at the college, then extreme pressure will be brought upon me to enter family life. But if I am considered to be foolish and inefficient, then no one will put such an inducement upon me for becoming so engaged. So generally, people look for qualified and husbands for their daughters, and they want to see some college degree. So he renounced this, knowing that no one will consider him suitable for this purpose of marriage. So he was clever all round, we could see. And by this, he continues to say that by this consideration, I left Sanskrit college, and in order to maintain my life for the service of Hari, I was desirous of getting an honest occupation which I could perform with the intention of earning a humble income. So what was the occupation that he entered into? He entered into the service of the royal family. It's explained that he entered into the purpose of into the service of the royal family, and he during that his student life, he actually maintained. He wrote so many papers on different articles on spiritual subject matters. He wrote newsletters. He published articles, and they were read widespread. So, so he also studied astronomy, and he studied astronomy. He actually perfected the subject of astronomy to such an extent that the professor that he was studying under offered him the chair position in the university. However, he declined this. He also wrote. He was so brilliant in the subject of astrology that he compiled the Surya Siddhanta, which was a comprehensive study of astrology, astrology, right? Of astrology, and he thereby gave it up after that. Because why? He is a Vaishnav. He understood, like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 2:41. How does the verse go? Vyavasatmika buddhir ekeha kurunandana bahushakahi anantascha buddhayo vyavasaminam. That those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, Krishna says, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. But here we see his single-minded attention, focused, so focused. Reminds me of how in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Madhya Leela, it is said, Shraddha Shabde Vishvashaka he Suridha Nishchaya Krishna Bhakti Kalav Sarva Karma Kritahaya. That Shraddha is confident, firm faith, that by rendering transcendental loving service, and Prabhupada quotes this so often, one automatically performs all subsidiary activities, and by such faith, Prabhupada often says, is so favorable to the discharge of devotional service. So this firm faith and confidence, that's called Shraddha, that when one engages in Krishna consciousness, in the Lord's devotional service, he is to be understood to have performed all his responsibilities in the material world. He satisfied his forefathers, ordinary living entities, the demigods, and he is free from all responsibilities. Prabhupada explains in that Madhya Leela, he explains that such a person does not need to meet his responsibilities separately. It is automatically done. And however, Prabhupada, when one awakens this dormant Krishna consciousness by this process of associating with those that have Shraddha, he does not have to work separately for even pious activity, because devotional activity supersedes the benefit of accruing piety. The best achievement of all fruit of activity is detachment from material life, and this is so clearly established or exemplified in the life and teachings of this illustrious personality, Sarasvati Thakur. So he declined this position of chair because while he was thinking that it's going to be an impediment to his spiritual life, and at the request of Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, at that time, Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj had just discovered the birthplace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, bringing great pleasure to Thakur Bhaktivinoda and all the Bengali Vaishnavas. So Jagannath Das Babaji had instructed Srila Bhaktisiddhanta to compose the Navadvip Pankija, or the Krishna's almanac, or the calendar, Vaishnav calendar as we would say. And with the months, the lunar fortnights, the days, the lunar days, as we know the Vaishnav calendar is composed of. So Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati, he did not spend very long, but he did this, and he named all of the months after names of Lord Krishna. So thereafter, as we saw in the previous slide, he entered into employment of the royals, and he was doing some incredible services there, only for the purpose to have access to the principal books of the royal library, just as he did in his college days. So he was a voracious learner of all things auspicious. A year later, when after he entered into this royal service, then he had been the editor of the Pancha Shrika of this particular Maharaj, the Raj of Ratnakar. And what happened was that this king, he left his body, and the succeeding king, Maharaj Radha Kishore Manikya Bahadur, he told Sarasvati Thakur that he must please instruct his sons, the young princes, in Bengali and Sanskrit, which he did. And then the king also requested him to put an end to the various cheating activities of people who are misappropriating royal wealth. And Siddhanta Sarasvati, an embodiment of truth, very quickly he stopped all of this nonsense, and the king was so delighted. And having accomplished this task, he then assisted this royal family until 1905, and at that time he asked them to please give him leave of absence, grant him leave of absence. So they were so pleased with his work, and they understood that he was meant for a higher purpose, and they granted him this together with like a full pension, which Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur accepted for some time, and then later he discarded even that pension. So during his 10-year period, many other significant things took place while he was working for the king in royal service. And Sarasvati Thakur published a number of articles on spiritual topics in a magazine called Nivedana in the Calcutta Weekly. So then we move on to the next phase of his life, his initiation, his meeting of Srila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, and we go through this very briefly. Siddhanta Sarasvati Thakur, we heard, he had been chanting Harinam and the Nishingadev mantra that his father had given him when he was in 7th grade, and he had been worshipping the Kurma deity, the Shaligram Shila, since the age of 7. So without fail, You could say that he had been, noted as a very, very special personality. So this young man, he was very qualified for becoming the disciple of a guru at this point in his life. And many pseudo-gurus, or what you may call mantra peddlers, of the Sahaja category, they wanted him as their follower, as their disciple. Why? Because it would increase their false prestige to have such an erudite scholar as their disciple. So after all, Siddhanta Sarasvati was also the magistrate's son. So this in itself, was a palatable thing for them, that he was renunciate from birth, a magistrate's son, learned and deeply attached to the scriptures. But Siddhanta Sarasvati, even though he had all of these qualifications, he understood that, how that verse from the Vishnu Purana goes, Yoyam Tavagato Deva Samipam Devatagana Satvam Eva Jagat Shrashta Yata Sarva Gata Bhavan, that whoever comes before you, meaning Krishna, Vishnu, even if he be a demigod, even if he is created by you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So whatever glory he possesses, whatever good that may be found in his character, he attributes it all to Krishna, because all Krishna's creations are but a spark of his splendor, it says in the Bhagavad Gita. So in 1898, after Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur had completed his construction of his residence in Navadvip Dham, at Godrum Dweep as we know it, he called it Swananda Sukhanda Kunj, and you can go there on pilgrimage even up until today. Then the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya, as we said, that was already discovered by Jagannath Das Babaji by this time, and Bhima Prasad used to listen to the discourses of his father. And when so what happened was, at that time, Srila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj arrived in Bengal. He was previously in Vrindavan. So he used to come and he used to hear the discourses of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And when he came to Navadvip, he came with the only possessions were his Tulsi Mala, which were around his neck, and another set he kept in his hand for counting. He kept a few books such as Narottam Das Thakur's Pratana and Prema Bhakti Chandrika. And Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj had been performing bhajan for many years in Vrindavan. He was extremely renounced, and he had taken diksha from someone called Bhagavata Das Babaji, who was a disciple of Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. So he was not very well educated externally, and he had been a grain merchant in his previous existence, as we shall say. But it was widely known in the entire land of Rajamandala that Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj was a liberated Paramahamsa of the highest caliber. So at the time of his arrival in Bengal, his reputation preceded him, and he was recognized in this manner. So he arrived wearing a cap made of tiger skin, and he was carrying a basket of various items and materials for service. So he saw the young Siddhanta Sarasvati and immediately took a liking to him, and he offered him 4 or 5 pieces of knotted rope for chanting his rounds. And he gave him as a gift a tilak stamp with the initials for Hare Krishna, the tiger skin cap, and the paraphernalia for worship. He gave this all to Siddhanta Sarasvati. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj had received the basket and the cap from his own spiritual master Bhagavad Das Babaji. And Siddhanta Sarasvati, this young person, he was immediately attracted to Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj's lotus feet at first sight. And later on, he said of his spiritual master, and I quote, my spiritual master Gaur Kishore Das Babaji would go and visit Bhaktivinoda Thakur and many times would reside with him. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, out of his compassion for other living entities, pointed out my spiritual master, Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. Upon seeing my spiritual master, the extent of my worldly false ego diminished. I knew that all other living entities who have taken the human form of life were also fallen and low like myself. But by gradually observing the spiritual character of my master, I realized that only a Vaishnava could reside in this material world and be of such exemplary character. So it's incredible how he recognized, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur advised him that this will be a spiritual master and you must take any diksha from him. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, as a young man, he approached Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, and you may know the story. He approached him for initiation in the month of Magh in the year 1900, and Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, he was very reluctant to accept him. Knowing that Siddhanta Sarasvati was a great scholar, so finally when Siddhanta Sarasvati pleaded with him for initiation, begged him at his lotus feet so profusely, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj told him, I will ask Mahaprabhu, I will ask Gauranga Mahaprabhu, and if he gives me permission, your desire will be fulfilled. So, on another day, Siddhanta Sarasvati approached him, and he asked him with full humility, what was Mahaprabhu's order? And Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj replied, oh, I forgot to ask. So the third time Babaji Maharaj was requested by Siddhanta Sarasvati, he replied, I asked, but I did not receive the command of Mahaprabhu. Siddhanta Sarasvati was so broken-hearted. He stood up and he said, you, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj are both worshippers of Krishna, the crest jewel of debauchees. Therefore, why? Why is it that you will not take mercy upon someone like myself? And if you do not give me your mercy, then, Karuna, in the song of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Karuna hoile kandiya pranana rakibo ara. If there's no mercy, weeping and weeping, I can't sustain my life any longer. And if I do not get the mercy, I do not see any need for holding on to this current life. And saying that, he was very determined to jump off a bridge into a deep river. Can you imagine such sincerity, such dedication, such conviction that this is my life's goal, and if I do not attain it, if I cannot become the servant of Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, what is the use of living? So then Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj granted him granted him Diksha, and gave him the name, Siddhanta Sarasvati gave him the name Shri Varshavanavi Devi Daitaya Das. So this was such an incredible moment in the life of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati, as you can imagine. So thereafter, he continued to reside in Jagannath Puri. He went to Jagannath Puri from Bengal, in the year 1898, and he had accompanied his father to Kashi, Prayag, Gaya. He gathered many facts about all these holy places, and he wrote the commentary to the Chaitanya Charitamrita called the Anubhasya. In 1900, he published a book called Bhange Samajika, which described the origin, location, and philosophy of various societies, various castes, various religions, and he expounded a clear superiority that even though all of these exist, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's doctrine of Achincha Beda Beda Tattva is the topmost. So in March, he went with his father to Orissa, to the temple of Shirachara Gopinath at Ramuna, and he also went to Bhubaneswar and Jagannath Puri. And while he was in Jagannath Puri, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur decided to build a place for bhajan near the samadhi of Srila Haridas Thakur. And so Siddhanta Sarasvati, at that time, he stayed and he served his father in various ways. He helped in establishing this place, Bhakti Kuti, right there by the sea of Jagannath Puri, and you can still go and visit this. So at that particular time, while they were in Puri, the Maharaj of Kasim Bazar was camped nearby, and he regularly came and he listened to Thakur Bhakti Vinod and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur was giving regular classes from the Chaitanya Charitamrita in the presence of his father and many listeners, and all these many people, many residents of the Dham, they were all assembling just to hear him speak. So it was at that time one very famous Radharaman Charan Das Babaji Maharaj, he used to come and used to hear these discourses. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj used to preach to him and accommodate him until at one point in time he introduced or he pronounced his belief in some bogus theory. He introduced the chanting of Bhajanita Gaura Radhe Sham, Bhajanita Gaura Radhe Bhajanita Gaura Radhe Sham as japa Hare Krishna Hare Ram. Sorry, Bhajar, how you say it? Bhajanita Gaura Radhe Sham japa Hare Krishna Hare Rama. So this was the mantra that he was now propagating amidst the people that he would come across and the residents of Puri. And it was introduced with the idea of stopping the audible chanting of the Maha Mantra. So the first problem was that with this was that the concocted mantra had faults of Siddhanta Viroda, an opposing conclusion, and Rasabhasa, conflicting rasas. So you don't find Lord Nityananda where Radha and Shama. Lord Nityananda is the incarnation of Lord Balaram, and Balaram is not found where Radha and Sham are associating. So when you say Nitai Gaura Radhe Sham, you're putting them in the same mantra japa, and further in the same mantra you're saying Hare Krishna Hare Ram, which is also in names or the appeal to the divine couple. So this is total rasabhas or conflicting rasas. And the second problem was that trying to suppress the audible vibration of the Maha Mantra was against the desire of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra has to be chanted audibly. As we see, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in fact, Rupa Goswami has written in Pratama Chaitanya Astika in the text 5 that Lord Chaitanya, he chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in a loud voice. So Rupa Goswami, he is a contemporary of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's witnessed the activities of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's a recipient of Mahaprabhu's full blessings. And he was empowered for establishing the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So when he personally testifies, as we just heard, that Lord Chaitanya does not confine the Maha Mantra to inaudible muttering, but he loudly proclaimed it to all, then why should we chant this mantra softly? So thus, Siddhanta Sarasvati, he quoted all of this, and he defeated this Radharaman Charan Das Babaji, and he, to such an extent, and actually this particular Babaji also introduced Saki Beki doctrine, where he was encouraging all his followers to dress as Lalita Saki and this Gopi and that Gopi, and they were being pronounced as various Sakis while still in the materially conditioned state. And this was against Mahaprabhu's teachings as well. And because no ordinary jiva could be worshipped as an expansion of Srimati Radharani. So both Thakur Bhaktivinoda and Siddhanta Sarasvati, they instructed this Babaji to give up this false practice, this fallacious practice. But he refused because, it was gaining him followers. It was gaining him wealth. So he didn't want to renounce this. And thereby, Siddhanta Sarasvati began very strongly to preach publicly against this misconceived teachings of this Radharaman Charan Das Babaji. And he preached so strongly and he proclaimed that the Maha Mantra is for japa and for kirtan. Not like this Babaji was saying. He was saying that you don't need to chant japa, you just need to chant kirtan. And Siddhanta Sarasvati defeated this philosophy. Bhaktivinoda Thakur defeated this. And they said that the success of kirtan is ultimately dependent on good japa, and this created such a controversy in Jagannath Puri, with many people taking the side of this Babaji, and out of misplaced sentiments, they were doing this, and few of them, a minority was siding with Siddhanta Sarasvati. So at this particular time, Siddhanta Sarasvati was then told by his father to compile various the Vaishnava encyclopedia with all Vaishnava terminology, biographies of great Vaishnavas, to introduce the books of Vaishnava Acharyas, of Vaishnava Tirthas, various conclusion of various Vaishnavas. So he called this compilation of his the Vaishnava Manujasa Samhariti, and it was later published in 4 volumes. So he also studied the teachings of Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, and he rendered them in Bengali. So at this time, he was also very much instrumental in writing articles for Sahajana Toshani magazine of his father. He toured the great places, and after all these bogus cults and sects became doomed because of his presence, because of his strong preaching, then Thakur Bhaktivinoda told him to reside in Jagannath Puri, to go and do Nam Bhajan near Yogapit, the birthside of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to then leave Jagannath Puri and go to Yogapit, the birthside of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in this time, taking this instruction, he was like such an amazing follower that every instruction he got from Thakur Bhaktivinoda was of incredible value. He valued that and he took it to heart. And In 1905, at the age of 31, he began this great vow, following the example of Namacharya Haridas Thakur, of chanting 3 lakhs of names. That's 192 rounds per day. He determined that at the rate of 300,000 names daily, it would take about 9 years to complete 1 billion names. And he executed this vrat with such sincerity, with such dedication. It's explained that his chanting, his pronunciation of Nam Bhajan, of this Maha Mantra, of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, was so sweet that it sounded almost musical when he chanted it, and people heard this. So he was constantly chanting even after this vrat was complete. So what happened was that while he reached completion of this vrat of chanting this 1 billion names, then one day there was a person, he was so renounced while doing this that he constructed a very simple kutir, and when it rained, he wouldn't bother, his roof was leaking, so he wouldn't bother to fix the roof. He would simply use an umbrella and continue chanting because he didn't want to waste any time in anything other than his Nam Bhajan. So it was only in 1906 that the nephew of one former justice of the Calcutta High Court, his father's, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was also involved with the High Court. So in the social circles, this former justice of the Calcutta High Court, his nephew, by the name of Chandra Madhava Ghosh Mahashai, he had a dream. You see, he had gone to see some of these Saki Bekis and these Bolas, and a so-called Bola guru and his wife, they instructed this boy to call them as father and mother. And these persons were actually very sinful and in the guise of devotees. So he was being misled like anything. So one day he had a dream, and in the dream, the guru took a form of a tiger, and his consort the form of a tigress, and they were about to devour this young boy in his dream, and it was a complete nightmare. So at that time, he was trying to chant the names of Lord Gauranga, and they were trying to kill him. And at that moment, in his dream, Saraswati, he saw Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur arriving on the scene and chastising these tigers and the tigress. And then he took the boy by the hand and led him to Mayapur. So when he woke up, he immediately sought the shelter of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, who then took mercy on him and gave him initiation. Before that, he never initiated anybody, but then he initiated this first person, and then he called, at the initiation ceremony, he famously wrote that if a Vaishnav does not do the work of a guru, then the spiritual Vaishnav lineage will stop. Again, if he does the work of a guru, then he becomes a non-Vaishnav, because if a guru thinks I am the guru, then the first you guru in the word guru disappears and the word becomes gauru or cow. So a real guru does not make disciples and thus remains a guru. Here we see Siddhanta Saraswati, that he was giving a very strong warning about entertaining the conception of overlording or becoming the master of anyone, even one's own disciples. And as Acharya, as one who teaches by example, he taught by his own behavior what the mood should be. And Srila Prabhupada, who later on became his disciple also, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he says that whenever we paid obeisances to my Guru Maharaj, he put his hands together, bowed his head and says, Dasosmi, that I am your servant. So he exemplified the behavior of humility, even though he was a guru, executing the service of a guru simply to keep the lineage on. Then his Prabhupada's humility. Prabhupada said in a lecture in 1973 on the occasion of Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur's disappearance day, in the same ecstatic mood, he says, anyway, it is by his grace I was forced to give up my family life, and he brought me some way or other in preaching his gospel. So on this memorable day, what he desired, I am trying a little bit, and you are all helping me. So I give thanks to you more. You are actually representatives of my Guru Maharaj, because you are helping me in executing the order of my Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much. So Prabhupada saw in the same mood as his Guru Maharaj, in full humility, he saw his disciples as servants of his own Guru Maharaj, and he thanked them with great humility. So, Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur, he had to preach very, very strongly against people that were actually propagating or making a controversy in the year 1911 that the name of Gaura in the Gayatri mantra that all of us Gaudiya Vaishnavas chant, these people were saying that this was not, that the name Gaura was not an eternal name of God, and therefore it was not found in the original Vedas, and that Lord Chaitanya, he was not an incarnation of God, but rather is Lord Chaitanya himself. He was saying of himself that he was a devotee of God, and these bogus gurus, they were then saying that this Gaura mantra should not be included in the Gayatri mantra, should not be chanted. So Siddhanta Sarasvati, he cited proof. He said in the Chaitanya Upanishad, Brahma is saying, I shall tell thee a secret. On the bank of the Jahnavi at Navadvip, which is called Goloka Dham, shall Govinda in the two-armed form as Gaura, the great one, the great mystic, who is transcendental to the three modes of material nature, whose form is eternal, reveal bhakti to the world. There are a number of verses that one can go on quoting to establish this fact that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is non-different from Sri Krishna, that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by his ardent attempts, this Gaura mantra was then chanted by everybody and accepted, because the Smartas, they couldn't object to the worship of the deity in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because Siddhanta Sarasvati, he would cite proof after proof, and it is by his preaching that the glories, all Gaudiya Vaishnavas up until today, they will be filled with bliss, and they continue to chant Gauranga Mahaprabhu's glories in this manner. So it's by his hard work that we have this Gauranga mantra in the Gayatri mantra. So very briefly, I will tell you almost in conclusion here that we broach the subject of his Vani, or his instructions. There are innumerable instructions that Siddhanta Sarasvati Thakur has given, and the Vaishnavas have compiled a book called Amrita Vani, where they have taken the 108 most important instructions and have published it. And I implore you with great humility to please try to find a copy of this on the internet or on Amazon or at your bookstalls, wherever you can, and read these instructions very, very carefully. But the summary of all of these instructions, Siddhanta Sarasvati Thakur himself spoke in a lecture that he gave at Radhakund on Rajmandal Parikram on a Sunday afternoon, October 16, 1932, where he quoted the 8th instruction of Srila Rupa Goswami, and he said, Tannama Rupa Charitadi Sukirtan Anu Smrityo Kramena Rasanama Nisini Yojya Tishtan Rajetad Anuragi Jana Nurgami Kalam Nayeda Kilayam Iti Upadesharam. That the essence of all advice is that one should utilize one's full time, 24 hours a day, in nicely chanting and remembering the Lord's divine name, transcendental forms, qualities, and eternal pastimes, and thereby gradually engaging one's tongue, mind. In this way, one should reside in Vraja or Vrindavan Dham and serve Krishna under the guidance of devotees. One should follow in the footsteps of the Lord's beloved devotees who are deeply attached to his devotional service. So that basically summarizes his instructions, which you must please go and read further. So in conclusion, I will just tell you a few pastimes very briefly about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. So the first one is how he delivers his brother by chanting the Harinam. So by now you will agree with me that this personality, Siddhanta Sarasvati, has great faith in the holy names, in the Harinam, in the Maha Mantra, in the great names of Lord Krishna. And even as a boy, he delivered his older brother by the name of Achyutananda from an offense he made in his last life. You see, actually, Achyutananda had some degree of the nerves and he became very, very sick. So Bhimo Prasad took up the kartals and he sat by Achyutananda's bed for 6 days without eating. He picked up the kartals and he chanted the Hare Krishna mantra constantly. Then, after 6 days of doing this, the Ramanuja Sampradaya Tilak appeared on Achyutananda's forehead and he said, I am a Ramanuja Vaishnav. I committed an offense to a Gaudiya Vaishnav in my last life and therefore I had to take this birth. Now I am relieved. And upon saying this, Siddhanta Sarasvati Thakur's brother then departed this world, left his body. So then, one time, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati, he also had great faith in the works of the previous acharyas and he established printing presses to continue the spreading of these teachings of the various acharyas. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he used to install the printing presses, not deities. He used to install, just like how we install deities, he installed some deities in his 64 temples, but he also used to install the printing press that were acquired by the Gaudiya Math for literature publication. That's how much he valued the Brihat Mridanga or the printing of these books. Then very briefly, one time Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur, he was giving a heavy class on detachment from material life. And later, while he was sitting at his desk and he was writing, after giving this heavy class, he observed that a monkey was stealing bananas from the storeroom which was next door to his study. So he ran out with a stick to chase the monkey away. And when he did this, he got up in such a hurry that he overturned his writing table and he spilt the ink on the pages of the manuscript that he was working on. And when the cook saw this, he said, "Huh? Today you said that one must be detached. How to understand your behavior that just now for 2 bananas you jumped up from your writing to chase the monkey and even ruined your work in this process?" Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur then responded, "These bananas belong to Srimati Radharani because they are to be used in Krishna's service." So that was his vision, that anything to be used in Krishna's service has to be valued and not wasted, it has to be taken care of. So he had such an incredible vision, one would say be like vision, because when they were at the Yogapi temple, there was a cook there who was very passionate. He was reckless in the way he spoke. He fought with practically every devotee there except Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati in that month. And then one day he died. So after the funeral ceremony was finished, the brahmacharis, they were sitting together and they were talking about how much trouble they got from this cook, and each one was telling them stories about how he fought with them in this way at this time, how he fought repeatedly with each and every one of them. And then suddenly Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur appeared in the doorway of this gathering of brahmacharis. He came in the doorway and he said one statement. He said, "He always washed his dhoti nicely and was very clean." Can you imagine the silence that befell that assembly of brahmacharis? And thereafter, nobody uttered any word about that in a negative way about that cook ever since, because a lesson was well spoken with such shakti that it was learnt on the spot. And in conclusion, one time when they were traveling, one Mayavadi sadhu was preaching oneness philosophy in the presence of Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and his disciples. And at this time they were riding, I must say, on a train from Calcutta to Puri, which you will know is quite a long drive. So Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur told his brahmacharis to feed that sadhu who was preaching oneness. He said, "Go and feed him all those ripe mangoes that were donated." But you see what had happened? Those ripe mangoes, they had gotten rotten because Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he would not take them because of his vow. And because he wasn't eating them, his disciples would not take them. So they took these rotten mangoes and they gave it to this Babaji. And they told him, "Now, the ripe mango is one with the rotten mango according to your philosophy. So Siddhanta Saraswati wants you to eat this mango." So the man held on to his philosophy and he started to eat the rotten mangoes. By the time he ate the 4th one, he was sufficiently purified, we should say. He fell at the feet of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and he swore that he'd never preached this philosophy of oneness again. So this was the incredible potency of this pure personality whose departure we are observing today. So it's explained that just before his departure, he got very sick 10 days before he left his body. 2 days later, he wrote his last instruction. Quote, "Somehow we must become qualified to attain the shelter of Rupa and Raghunath. Always chant Hare Krishna, always preach Krishna consciousness, and stay away from Vaishnav aparad. In this way, become qualified to get the shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Rup and Raghunath." 2 days after that, he wrote his last letter to Srila Prabhupada, Abhay Charanaravinda, as he was known at that time. And it was pretty incredible how in this last exchange of Srila Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Goswami, Prabhupada in 1936, just on the 13th, Prabhupada says, in 1930, and I quote, in 1936, just on the 13th December, I wrote him one letter. Not the 13th, I think by the beginning of December 1936. I wrote one letter to Guru Maharaj. I knew he was little kind upon me, so I wrote that. Guru Maharaj, you have got many disciples. I am also one of them, but they are doing direct service to you. Some of them are brahmacharis, some of them sannyasis, but I am a householder. I cannot. And of course, I was giving sometimes some monetary help, but I could not give any direct service. So I asked him, is there any particular service I can do for you? So that final letter he wrote to Srila Prabhupada just before his departure. The 13th December, dated 13th December from Puri, and he passed away. So that letter was replied on 13th December, dated 13th December from Puri, and he passed away on the 31st December, just a fortnight before. So the reply was the same as he wanted me to do this preaching work in 1922 on the first meeting. So he said, quote, you try to preach whatever you have learned from me to the English-knowing people in English. That will do good for you and to the people to whom you shall preach. That is my instruction. From Srila Prabhupada's lecture on His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Goswami Prabhupada's appearance day in Los Angeles, February 7, 1969. That was the instruction that has opened our eyes with the torchlight of knowledge through the various lectures, letters, conversations, and 70 volumes of books that Prabhupada has benedicted us and the society, the upcoming society, for generations and generations to come. So, in conclusion, I thank you very humbly for your kind oral reception, and I wish you all the best in your taking shelter of the lotus instructions of this glorious lineage that we are coming from. And it is on March 3rd this year that we shall celebrate the appearance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and continue some katha on his glorious life and teachings further. Thank you very much. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I thank you for your nice comments. Hare Krishna.